Reverend Sir, it is a great satisfaction to me to find that every reasonable argument which might tend towards Mrs. Southcote's preservation has been in so full and candid a manner laid before them by you. There is no forcing the stream in this case, and if Mr. Southcombe will now obstinately run into danger, he will be now solely accountable for it. I will order the original list signed by all the persons who are to be inoculated, together with a copy of it, to be sent up to you tomorrow morning early, which you may take the proper use of. There is but poor hopes of succeeding in an argument with those who will not confine themselves within the bounds of truth. I must insist on the report made to me, in which, if necessary, I can believe be proved on oath, that your message brought here before any one poor person applied for being inoculated was expressly that, if I succeeded well, that Mrs. Southcombe was determined to be inoculated. And this resolution of hers was confirmed by many express declarations that Mrs. Southcombe had made to Mr. Hutton, and by the actual preparations that she had begun to put herself under. And no mention whatever was made of her being inoculated upon condition only that the infection should reach the town, as I ever heard of, nor was it, I believe, ever made but with a view of eluding this argument when pressed upon them, which they had no other way of avoiding the force of but by this little quibbling subterfuge. That in all corporate bodies, I believe it will be admitted that the resolutions of the majority should determine the whole. That when Mrs. Southcombe made this declaration, it does not appear that any consideration was taken of the poor, many of whom are in so low a state as not to be able to provide themselves necessaries. That this declaration could not, under those circumstances, but be extremely alarming to them, who might conclude that they should soon be exposed to the havoc which the distemper makes in the natural way, even without any probable means of being able to support themselves under it. In this situation, therefore, it can be no wonder that they applied to me for assistance, which I cheerfully promised them, and I should have thought it an indelible reflection on me if I had hesitated one moment to do so. I know not a single instance of any one being offered money to undergo the operation, nor of any one being improperly pressed to submit to it. One instance I cannot avoid mentioning, which I think will prove the direct contrary. I have a great regard for my carrier, who I esteem an honest man, and I pressed his going to Downs for security's sake, if he did not choose to be inoculated. The poor fellow could not be prevailed on to leave this house willingly, nor did he choose to be inoculated. I have left him freely and absolutely to his own choice. Two poor families in the town who depend entirely for support on their masters for the men's wages, I have promised to assist with their usual wages till such time as they shall be able to come to their work again. They are Shapcut's and Louday's families. I know not of a single farthing promised or offered to any other persons, but I have given express directions that none of them shall want any proper assistance, which I trust I shall on all occasions be ready to give them, as I cannot but in some sort look on them as the distant members of my family. To go further, I must say that Mr. Southcombe, by retiring, would, I believe, in a great measure contribute to the advancement of religion in his parish, for by his folly pride he has made himself quite contemptible in the eyes of the parishioners. And if he would absent himself for a little while, and you would be so good as to take the care of the parish on you for 3 Sundays only in the approaching holidays, I am persuaded the good effects of it would appear by a double number of communicants at the sacrament. If these and other considerations have their due effects on him, well. If not, you and I shall both have the satisfaction of having laid them before him in the most friendly and candid manner. I cannot but think it extremely odd that he should trouble me with such messages at such a time. There could be no necessity of his troubling me with them at that time, as the operation was never intended to be performed less than a week hence, which I might, with less danger to myself, be enabled to reason with him. He will at least, I hope, now excuse my receiving any further messages from him, till he shall appear to have in some measure recovered the use of his reason. I am, Reverend Sir, your most faithful, humble servant, Kingsnipton, November 19th, 1755.